Welcome, everyone, to our conversation about stepping out of the shadows and playing the leading role in your life. My name is Alana Davidson with Essence Coaching. I am the author of this lovely book, don't know if you can see, Finding Your Own Happy, a Soul Searcher's Guide to Peace and Happiness in Everyday Life. And this is my guest, Ebba Carlson. Her book is True Starlight, Stepping Out of My Celebrity Husband's Shadow. So like I said, today we're going to be talking about stepping out of the shadows and playing the leading role in your own life. And Ebba, do you want to tell us a little bit about your book, who you wrote it for, what it's about?
Yes, absolutely. So, my book is written, it's really a memoir. It's my own story, how I found my true starlight. And the true starlight is something that is residing with each and every one. It's something we are born with. And how I connected to that in the first place was my connection to the stars was really when I was a teenager and being very unhappy and depressed. I wanted to commit suicide. So one night when I was going to cut myself, I really looked up at the stars and I felt this immense love coming from the universe. And that's when I knew that I loved life too much and decided not to hurt myself again. And from that day on, my life became, I started really seeking for happiness. At first, it was really outside of myself because that's all I knew and was familiar with. But later on, as I learned lessons, I found that happiness was really inside of myself. And I think that's why your book is so amazing.
Oops, we lost your sound for a second there.
Oh, do you hear me
Oh,
now?
there we go. Yes, yes. It was amazing for me to meet Abba because we had such, even though we came from such different backgrounds, we had such relatable stories. Both of us have struggled with finding our own happiness, finding that place of peace and happiness from within. And just there was just so much we had to talk about that we just wanted to invite all of you to this conversation. And for me, my book, Finding Your Own Happy, A Soul Searcher's Guide to Peace and Happiness in Everyday Life. Similarly, I went through many phases in my life where I wasn't sure if I wanted to be here. I wasn't sure if I wanted to live, and went on that quest. Sort of both of us have been spiritual seekers in our lives, really looking for that answer to like something more, happiness, fulfillment. And I tried so many things and I just couldn't figure out why it was still like I did all the spiritual practice, I did the meditation, all of this personal insight and personal development, and after more than 20 years I still struggled with feeling like I was accessing the happiness that I knew that should be possible,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't understand what I was missing. And so this book that I wrote is about my journey to finally uncovering the pieces that I was missing that have contributed to my full happiness and to getting to the other side of these feelings of depression and not being sure if I wanted to live anymore. And part of that has been for me, and I think also for you, Ebba, part of that has been stepping out of the shadows and finding my true light and my true place in life, and and moving out of sort of this hiding or the shadow thing. And I wonder if you want to talk a little bit about sort of where you were when you felt like you were living in the shadows and what that was like for you.
Yeah, so the shadow can mean so many different things for different people. For me, it has been really hiding my own starlight, my own essence, my own empowerment, who I truly am, and hiding that from myself and thinking that if I live a life, like in my case, I live with a celebrity or a high performer who got a lot more attention than me, then I got a little bit of that starlight, a little bit of that attention being in his shadow. But it could also be being in something else, like you are in your parents' shadow, or it could be like you have, a, an organization or whatever it is, whatever the hiding place is. That's where we can usually find our biggest strength as well.
Yeah, it
So,
was such an interesting concept that like your shadow is really anywhere that you're hiding, anywhere that you're not willing to step up and be your full self, or kind of veiling yourself. And for me too, it's funny that you mentioned parents, because for me, in a lot of my experience, my parents are, and some of you will know, revered leaders in their community, and they had their thing going, and a lot of people looked up to them. And so much in my life I heard, "Oh, you're Bruce and Linda's daughter." Yes, so true. I am their daughter, but I'm also so much more, and have my own identity and my own self. And so part of my journey and struggle also toward happiness, as well as stepping out of the shadows, has been to find my own identity outside of my family of origin, outside of the community I grew up in, and to really be able to find my place in my own right. And so I just have a question for our audience, just to think on, where is it in your life that maybe you've been hiding in the shadows? Maybe you've been not finding your true voice or your true self. And what would it look like, or what would it take to step into that? And I
mhm.
know sometimes that requires, and Ebba, you can speak to this a little bit too, sometimes that requires be uh, saying things that are unpopular, or go finding an identity that doesn't fit with your tribe, that doesn't fit with the people that you have surrounded yourself with, or is at odds with maybe the predominant way of being or thinking. And it can be scary. It can be really challenging to come to understand that your truth might be different than the truth of the people around you. And so that's, I think, some of the challenge that people find of stepping out of those shadows is like, it can mean saying something that's unpopular, or going against the grain, or things like that. And Ebba, I wonder if you share about
Yeah,
that.
yes, absolutely. I think what I came to understand, I have similar journey as you, trying different therapies, trying different methods of um, becoming more of yourself, personal self-development, personal leadership, psychotherapy, all of these things, was really making it more clear what is it that I know, and when is it that I'm really compromising with my own truth. Like, for some people, some things feel true to them, and I have to respect that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that is my truth. And I truly believe that we have, a unique frequency, we have a unique energy that we came here with, and it is up to us to find that and to magnify that, and really listening within. And for me, like, one of my greatest fears was when I felt like I had to risk losing my husband, because I needed to stand up for that feeling inside of myself. I could no longer compromise with that desire, because it was really a strong desire and a knowing. How was it for you, Alana, when you realized?
Yeah, so similarly, my journey was similar, of this facing, being confused about how my reality and my experience didn't connect up with what the external world was telling me, or what people were telling me about my life. And for so many years, I tried to reconcile that incongruency, and I just never really could. And it was like, either I'm wrong or they're wrong, and I don't know what to do. And I spent a lot of time feeling like I was wrong, or I was the broken one, or I was the screwed up one. And it was really when I came to just acknowledge my own truth and validate my own truth, whether or not anybody else understood what I was saying or got what I was saying, that it restored a sense of peace and sanity to my life to say, I am going to trust me first and foremost. I'm going to trust my own understanding of reality and experience of reality. And it's not to make anybody else wrong, but there were places where I really thought, like, it felt like I was going crazy because what people were showing me or telling me, and this was true in my family, but also working sometimes with other renowned leaders, spiritual leaders, healers, and their reflection of me and what was true for me just didn't add up. And it was when I was willing to say, you know what, I'm going to trust me first, and I'm going to trust what's true for me and what creates the sense of harmony in my own being, that I was able to move out of some of that confusion.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so deep. It's like also the greatest gift. Like everything was worth it then. Like all that looking and that searching and just coming to that understanding that finally it was like just no, I had it. I just needed to go there within me and know it. It's a huge realization knowing that. So yeah, and
Yeah, it's
everybody. Oh, sorry. You go ahead.
so interesting journey where you, so maybe you start with not even realizing that you're in the shadows, so to speak, whether it's your husband, your parents, the society that you grew up in, whatever that is, to this kind of dawning and awakening of your own knowing, your own sense of things, and understanding what that is for you. And then for a lot of people, what they confront through that journey is their own fears, their own doubts, their sense that maybe they're wrong or crazy sometimes. And
Hmm.
then I think for some of us, definitely for you and I, it's come to the point where we couldn't live with the reality of being in those shadows anymore. We couldn't live with the incongruency it was creating in ourselves. And so we had to find a way to step forth, to step into knowing what we know and being the leaders in our own lives. And so for some people it really is, it just gets to that place where the pain of staying is greater than the fear of showing up, of stepping up differently.
Yeah, that is so true. And I couldn't have said that better. That was really, really on the spot. So I'd like to the viewers, if you have any questions about either of our books or if you have read them, what did you think? Did something ring true? And Alana, what she just said or what I just said, like, um, have you been experiencing yourself like living in the shadows, or do you feel like you are living to your fullest potential? And just share something or write a question to us. We will be happy to hear what you have to share.
Yes, please. Loved your input. And also, while people are having a chance to do that, I just wonder, Ebba, if you have any sort of suggestions or advice of like, what are some of the things that helped you when you were at that place of like discomfort and the growing incongruency between where you were in the shadows and where you knew you needed to go? What were one or two things that helped you move into that transition, helped you come to a different place in your life?
Yeah, I think to me it was really first honoring what I really felt. And you talked about that earlier, like when something doesn't really feel good, just taking that moment to honor whatever that feeling is and not just neglecting it like, oh, it's me again and I can't let go and I'm just in my selfish ego. I don't know, like blaming and hammering on oneself. It's like the feeling of the feeling of not feeling good is actually a sign that you are not aligned with your true self, with your higher self. So to me, it felt really important to identify what is it that doesn't feel good, and kind of not like zooming out and observing that emotion and thinking, how can I shift this. And to me, it's always like the feeling when it feels good, when I understood what I needed to shift everything. Like I feel happy again. I feel a warm feeling sensation in my body. So I have to go and dissect that emotion. So when I fight the feeling of not feeling good, that's never a solution for me. Like I really have to move into it and fight the feeling. And that's at least one of the first steps for me. What about you?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I get like this is part of what inspired me to have this conversation because I just get chills. Like have this all this emotion coming up when you talk about that because that it's like so real for me. It's how long I spent thinking that what I was feeling was wrong, that I just needed to work on myself a little bit more, and like it was just my issues. And if I could just overcome my issues, then I would finally be happy. When really, just like you said, and I write about this in my book, is it's all of that was information that I was not paying attention to. I was just saying that I was screwed up and wrong because I had these feelings when actually these were feelings that were trying to get my attention and tell me what was truly going on for me that I didn't want to pay attention to. I didn't want to have to see. And once I started to make that shift to acknowledge that my experience, especially with feelings, wasn't wrong, that it was actually useful and helpful information that I could use to inform my life and inform my experiences of life. And when I started to really listen and listen to myself and not say, oh, I'm just self sabotaging, oh, I'm just, stuck in my ego, oh, I'm just, not open to feedback. And I think there is a culture to some degree in the self-help or personal development world, which is a lot about picking yourself apart and seeing your blind spots, which can be helpful, but I think it can come to the point of destructiveness where
Mm-hmm.
you're not validating actually the goodness and the truth of you and the beauty of you, and that you actually aren't like. So this is where I think there's a place for self-inquiry and self-development, but I think there's also a place where there's a point of view that we're flawed, perpetually flawed and screwed up, and we have to keep healing and fixing ourselves, which to me was part of the problem that I eventually uncovered, that like, oh, actually no,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not
I
like need more work on myself. I need to pay attention to the information I'm getting.
Yes, so that I love that you said that because I think that's where uh, we are not noticing how much we're actually feeding the wrong wolf. You know the story with feeding
Mm-hmm.
the whatever you're feeding is going to grow. Whatever you put your focus on, that's going to grow. So if we're constantly focusing, oh, I have something left to let go of. I'm not good. Like I am not a good enough coach. I'm not a good enough wife. I'm just not good enough mother. Whatever it is, it's like that's what we're feeding. So that's going to grow. And I think that was one of the biggest lessons, and exactly what you just said is that we have to pay attention. Like, don't make the whole concept of looking and searching and becoming a better human being an effort. It's not supposed to be a struggle. It's really supposed to be something fun and light and something we can enjoy. You know. So.
Well, and something that really started to ring true for me is like, wow, I can believe this narrative about myself that I have more work to do and like I'm just really messed up and I need to like figure out what my problems are some more and heal them. And I end up feeling rather not good about myself. And that's also messages I was getting from other people like, oh, you have problems. You need to go work on your problems. And then at some point I stopped and said, wait a minute, like if I buy that, if I buy into that, I feel like crap. And I feel like, or I can choose a different narrative, which is like, no, actually, that's not what's going on for me. That's not what's true for me. And wow, I feel so much better about myself. So which one do I want to choose? Do I want to choose that I still have like tons of spiritual work to do and I'm just not there yet? Or do I want to choose to like go toward enjoying my life and feeling good about my life and continuing to, my point of view is like creating what I want to create for my life. Let's not focus all on me and whether or not I'm, holy or pure enough. Let's focus on what do I want my life to be like? What do I want it to feel like? What do I want to create for my life? And then, yes, of course, look at whatever inside of me is getting in the way of that. But otherwise, like this soul searching forever. I mean, I wrote a guide about soul searching. Ironically, it's sort of like, would you stop already in some way? Like you actually have a lot more to you and complete and whole about you than you actually thought. And sometimes that searching is part of what perpetuates the challenge or the problem.
Okay, so I have a question here from Marie. She's asking, why
Mm-hmm.
is this book written? This book, why is it written now? So late, she says, and I'm thinking that the book, in at least my book, I don't know, Alana, about you, but it's been a process, been kind of brewing inside of me for some time, but I think I had to go through certain things to actually own it all the way, so I would be ready to share it with the world. I wasn't ready before. So many
Mm-hmm.
different steps led to actually now it's the time, and it was just so strong within me. And my husband Robert, he's like, you are so crazy, you're just about to move and you haven't finished your education and now you're going to write a darn book. So i think I think it's just we
Well,
know
good
when it's
thing you
time.
listen to him. Yeah. Yeah, you've got to listen. Again, that's like your husband was like, "What are you crazy?" And you're like, "No, I have to listen to me and I have to follow the thread here." And similarly for me, there was some things I was working out and I was working out what it actually really takes to be happy, and not only just for myself, but what it takes to help my clients. And I joke, so we're in a program where you write a book fairly quickly, 9 weeks or maybe a little bit more, that you have to submit your manuscript. So for me, I joke it was 9 years and 9 weeks. So it was all of the thinking, all of the thought development, all of the work with clients, the exploring of my own personal process that contributed to the writing of this book. So it really had to mature inside of myself and develop inside of myself. And then once I've sort of sat with the material long enough and thought about it long enough, the writing is sort of the last step in this long process of developing the content. And then it's like, once I got to sitting down to write the book, that part was pretty easy because I already knew what I wanted to say and I'd already thought about it long and hard and
I
put it
lost
to
you there
practice.
for a while, sorry.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So um, that's it for me too, is
Yeah.
it's like just has to develop and
Yeah.
come through, and when the time is right, it will happen. And so part of this, the topic of today, is about stepping out of the shadows and then playing the leading role in your life. And so I just wonder, maybe we can speak a
Mm-hmm.
little bit to that. And part of that is really that trusting yourself, trusting what's true for you, not letting anybody else determine what those things are for you. And Ebba, I wonder if you want to
Mm-hmm.
say, I know that, one of the things that you've done is that you've taken on ballroom dancing, where you really get to be sort of this leading role and star in your own life. And I wonder if you want to reflect a little bit on and some of the places where you really are becoming the your true starlight, or playing the leading role in your life.
Yeah, so definitely when the kids were becoming a little older and they didn't need me so much, I started to do other things. And ballroom dancing was actually from the beginning something that I wanted to do with my husband that was not golf oriented, where we could do something together. And in that process, we found something that we didn't share, and so the dancing became a way of being together with Robert. And then when he went back on tour to play again, I continued. So doing the dancing I really had to grow and feel my body, breathe my body, and expressing it in a way that I had never done before, because it was so scary to express all that emotion that I had stuffed inside of me for so long. Even though I had done a lot of psychotherapy and a lot of therapy, this was new. I had to step into a role that was a feminine role, that was very open and maybe vulnerable. And I had closed that door a long time ago when I was sexually abused, and allowed myself to be hurt over and over and over. So growing that confidence, moving together with a partner who's my teacher, Roberts, and my good friend, he really helped me to move through those emotions and being able to express my femininity, my sensuality, my sexuality in a whole new way, and then step out on the dance floor in the light and compete. So then I understood suddenly what it was to compete, which I hadn't understood before, living with a high performer. So competing under pressure, and being yourself like that, I had to just step into that totally, which helped a lot. So I recommend it. I don't know, did that answer your
And
question or?
yeah, well, just a follow-up question. So what what is different in your life when you step up and you choose to play the, like, I'm just going with this metaphor of playing the leading role, or like being at the center of your own life, being your
Mhm.
own, you know, at playing the leading
Yeah.
role, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yes, I love that question. I think the dancing was another step for me when I found different aspects of myself. And then after that, I just knew that I had so much to share. And that's when I started. I know that I have to coach other people because I have so much wisdom now that I can't just sit with it. I need to share this with other people. How can everybody step into their true starlight? How can everybody align themselves with their higher self, where everything is connected, where they know everything? So that was, I guess, the ultimate thing. And waking up and then being the best you can be every day, at least doing your best, right? So
Mm-hmm.
communication
Yeah.
with your higher self daily.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you,
Totally. I mean,
what,
for me, go ahead.
no, just, it would be interesting to see what you had to say about that.
Yeah, well, for me, I mean, again, going along with like the hiding became insufferable and I needed to make a difference. For me, when I am stepping into the leading role in my life, when I'm coming out of the shadows, it's like when I feel the happiest, my life flows, I feel excited. Just in the process of writing this book, more people probably than ever before in my life have been telling me how amazing I am, and it's just an incredible feeling to really have all of me and be all of me. And I, for so long, I sort of put myself on the edge of other people's lives and wanted people to pay attention to me or try to like fit myself into other people's worlds or get them to come pay attention to me in some way. And it never really worked until I've been willing to be like, you know what? I'm going to be the leader. I'm going to step out and I'm going to go where I want to go and I'm going to invite people to come with me. And even now, it's like almost this gauge when I start to hide or to be off track from fulfilling that purpose or being at the center of my own life, I suffer. It feels harder. I feel worse about myself. I don't feel as connected to other people. And every time I step up and I show up as a leading role in my life is just that much better and that much easier and that much more enjoyable. And I
Mm,
know I'm on the
yeah.
right track when I do that. And it's so it's like a great sort of guide for me and also super important because I know that when I'm not doing that, like when I'm in the wrong role, it's like play your part, right? And we each have a part, and we each have a part in which we can be a star. And if you're trying to play a part, if you're trying to play somebody else's part and be something else, it's not going to work very well. And so, what does it take for you to play the starring role in your own life? Because that's really the role for you. Yeah, you can play, tangential roles in other people's lives. Of course, we all have our own dramas going on, but if you play the leading role in your own life, it's an invitation also for everyone else who's there to contribute to you and play supporting roles to show up. If you're not playing that leading role, it's hard for those other people to play the supporting roles that they're designed to play in your life drama, so to speak. So just a
That is
little.
so well said. Yes, absolutely. I so agree. And I think when we step into what you do, our own star, we live through that energy, we also allow other people to do the same. And which that creates a lot of
Exactly.
freedom. So, and then from that space, we can really relate with each other without being codependent and create beautiful relationships that are based on unconditional love.
Well said. I would say my friendships, relationships, every time I choose to step up and to show up as all of me, the quality of my relationships just improve immensely. I feel so much better about myself. I feel so much better about the people in my life. They show up differently. And it's, yeah, just a phenomenal thing. So this is an invitation. We're at the end of 2017, stepping into 2018. Here's an invitation for you. What would it take for you to step up and become the leading role in your life? What would it take for you to stop hiding parts of yourself? Or this phrase that I'm playing around with, which is to be unapologetically you. What would it take for you to stop hiding and to be unapologetically you? And both of us are here to support you and help you in that journey. We would love to share our books with you. And to answer any more questions that you have, we're both on Facebook. You can find us there. Ebba, tell people how they can get a copy of your book.
Yes, absolutely. So I can probably type it in here, but you can go to my website. It's www.truestarcoaching.com. And on that website, you can download a free copy of my book. And also, if you read my book already and want to have some more information, there's a quiz you can take on my website and sign up for a free session if you want to have some if you have some questions or insights, or if you're stuck not knowing where you want to go, or just maybe start fresh from 2018 and onwards. And what about you? You said your website was, say it again.
Yes, so you can get a free copy at my book at yourhappyguide.com. And if you have, I'm starting something up, so I'll be doing other live conversations like this one with other people. I'm also doing a Q&A about my book. So if you get my book and you start reading it and you have a question about it, you can join me every Tuesday, 2:30 Mountain Time, for answering your questions, getting more information about my work and my book. Also, feel free, if you want to reach out to have a private conversation, you can just message me here on Facebook. I'm on Facebook a lot, and I'll be happy to just connect with you. And if you think like maybe I could help you with something that you've been struggling with, maybe you're a soul searcher that still feels like, what the heck, why am I still not all that happy? I'm happy to set up a time to chat with you to see what we could create and if we could be a good fit for working together. So again, my website, and I'll also post it in the comments, is yourhappyguide.com to get my book, and then just check out my stream for the Q&A calls. And tune in here next week. I'll have another guest, still to be determined, but we'll be continuing these kinds of conversations. So thank you all so much for joining us. And I will also be checking back if you're watching this video post live. So after it's live and you have a comment that you want to make or something, I'll be following up and checking in on them, and we'll respond to your comments as well. So thank you again all for being here, and it's been lovely chatting with you today. And thank you so much, Ebba. Lovely conversation as always, and I look forward to more. Maybe we'll just have some other topics we want to discuss in the future.
Absolutely. We will. Thank you guys.
And
Thanks for
bye,
coming in
everyone.
and listening. Bye.